PlayStation Showcase is coming this Thursday, and with Sony taking their sweet time announcing the next major livestream, it's shaping up to be one hell of an event with lots of overdue gameplay. With the likes of God of War Ragnarok confirming to be there from trusted leaker Nick Baker, and the conversation around what PS5's 2022 slate even looks like, I'm Scott Tailford, joined by Ewan Patterson to talk rumours, leaks and predictions for the show itself. Mr. Ewan Patterson, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Scott. It's a Friday. The sun isn't shining, but I'm feeling the PlayStation energy fueling me for next week.
It's the pre-big show weekend, so we thought we'd get one of these videos out, because I'm going to break down a bunch of leaks, and then we'll talk about some prediction stuff, but each one of these leaks comes with some evidence, some stuff that says maybe this could be a thing, which always makes it the most exciting. So the first thing to talk about, I think, is the Metal Gear Solid remake. Now this comes alongside the fact that Bluepoint, the developers of the Shadow of the Colossus remake, there was a graphic that got tweeted out by the Sony Japan official Twitter account way back in June, just saying that Sony was like, oh, welcome to the family, here's this logo of the Bluepoint studio, and it seemed like they were going to be acquiring them as well. Then Sony's side on Twitter initially deleted that, or immediately deleted that, and it went away. But one of the rumors that's been long-standing for years is that Bluepoint, the next project they did after Shadow of the Colossus, was Metal Gear Solid. And so this comes from a couple of different sources, or at least two I'm going to highlight anyway. One being the Moore's Law is Dead podcast, where they talked at length about the fact they knew it was in development. There was also David Hayter was on a Dan Allen Gaming interview, and he said that someone that he knew who was an insider had texted him to say it was happening as well, but it doesn't seem like he's very much involved in it. But I think that they held back on the Bluepoint acquisition because they're going to do the graphic at PlayStation Showcase alongside the Metal Gear Solid remake. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I love all this. I'm very much excited to see this. Do you think the reason why David Hayter wouldn't be involved would simply be because they're just going to reuse the audio? Because you would think for a full-on remake at this scale, they'd probably want to record it in better quality.
Well, that's the thing. If you go back to the making of Metal Gear Solid, it's like hilarious. There's a really great, I can't even think what channel it's on, but they got all the original voice actors to talk about the reality of making that game. And they literally went to a small house somewhere, and they were all in one room with the script they'd been given. I mean, it was 1996 or whatever. A Hollywood-style video game hadn't been done, and they just recorded all their voice lines in this one little room with the traffic going past the room out, the window outside, and they had to record in between the traffic. So, according to David Hayter and people who worked on that game back in the day, they always said that audio was barely usable anyway. So I think that it is weird if he's not involved, because that would mean that either they found a way to touch up the audio, or they're recasting Solid Snake, which would be the worst thing you could do, I would have said.
They've never done that before.
Well, Kiefer Solid just comes in, doesn't say anything again. It's another mute Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, it seems like a Metal Gear Solid remake is one of the only big top-tier PlayStation remakes left to be done after the likes of Crash and Spyro. So I think it sounds good. I mean, even Final Fantasy VII remake happened, so it's like at some point, even Konami would assumedly accept the money to do a Metal Gear Solid remake and let it be Bluepoint as well. Next thing down is an even bigger, crazier thing, which is that From Software are apparently doing a PlayStation exclusive new IP. Now this comes from Nick Baker again. He was talking about what was coming at the PlayStation Showcase, what was coming in the future, and just said that From Software are working on, and he believes it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive that is more Souls-like than it is Elden Ring / Sekiro, and has no connection to Dark Souls or Bloodborne. But this does line up with the way that From Software do business. They've had a different publisher on every major game so far. Sekiro was Activision, Bloodborne was Sony. Even the Dark Souls remake went to someone else. It just seems like they like doing their own thing. And I think that Elden Ring is with Namco Bandai, so they might as well do another brand new IP. It seems like a Sony move to lock them down as well. I know you're not a massive Souls fan, but what do you think of all this stuff?
I wanted to love Bloodborne, but Bloodborne didn't love me back. I mean, that's an interesting question, though, because I really like the idea, if I'm going to experience these games, it's going to be vicariously through, watching gameplay, because I think the art design and I just don't have the patience for them, but the art design and everything else about them I really, really appreciate. So I guess from that perspective, even though I'm sure people would maybe be disappointed that it's not, obviously nothing is set in stone right now, but it's not a Bloodborne sequel, might be a little bit upset about that. But at the same time, to see the studio, if it is true, continuing to branch out and try and, implement their own new IPs and doing different bits and bobs, I find that really, really cool. So looking forward to potentially seeing another From Software IP, because that's really cool.
Yeah, the Bloodborne thing is really weird because it seems like the most obvious 4K 60 upgrade patch you would do. That would be the first thing you would do. That was the first major PS4 success story that was like a first party thing. I guess a second party thing, but still, like, why is that not a thing? I think if you're going to be, doing the rounds on potential From Software stuff or potential acquisitions and just going, hey, by the way, fans, here's something for you, they might as well just do a Bloodborne patch. It just seems like the most overdue thing possible. Next thing down is Last of Us Factions, which has kind of came from Naughty Dog tweeting out saying that they're hiring for their first standalone multiplayer game. And they did put out a graphic of Ellie just standing there as well. So, it's not necessarily a leak, but it could be a completely separate thing, I guess. But it does tie in with a leak that happened back in August where someone data mined, I did have their name down, Specalizer, data mined Last of Us 2 and found a Battle Royale map and a whole bunch of items and different things that seemed that they would be used in a Battle Royale setting. Things like tracking people's footsteps or having listening in to people from afar, stuff like that. So it seems like, whatever they're doing for Last of Us Factions, it maybe is something even bigger. How does the very idea of a Last of Us Battle Royale grab you?
Honestly, I really, really enjoyed the first Last of Us as multiplayer. I thought that was a great way of, like, a very underrated aspect of the first title. And, like, obviously, I'm not big on Battle Royale. The genre just completely eludes my appeal. But I think, if you're going to do it with that Last of Us blend, maybe that's the little flourish you put on that genre to really make it stand out and do their own thing. Obviously, I'm a bit bummed that it'll be Battle Royale because I feel as though we have a glut of those titles at the minute.
There is a few.
But if anyone's gonna, do it justice with their own IP, then I would say that Naughty Dog are pretty well prepared. And I'm here for any kind of multiplayer aspect. And obviously, even if the main focus was on Battle Royale, you'd think they'd maybe include some of the traditional modes that they had in the previous entry too.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, one of the things, because I love factions as well. I love that they made it so if you tie in your social media accounts, then different people you were saving and going on missions with were just named after random friends that you have. So some person from your high school is suddenly like being held hostage somewhere. I like the idea of them doing more stuff like that. I'd have to imagine that they would do a deathmatch mode or whatever alongside the Battle Royale stuff. It just seems kind of crazy considering that even Fallout 76 tried a Battle Royale, and then there was that mini mode in Red Dead Online where it was Battle Royale style but not like 100 players. It was just them sort of, you did the whole smaller scale arena until you were the last person left. So potentially, I guess. But overall, Last of Us Factions was the thing that was always being talked about in the shadow of Last of Us 2, and it makes sense if you're doing a big old PlayStation showcase to go, hey, by the way, more Last of Us is coming. So maybe. The last thing I've got down for the leak stuff is the GTA Trilogy remasters, which came from Kotaku themselves. They haven't actually been confirmed officially, even though we all talked about them the other week, but Kotaku were the ones saying that these remasters are coming later this year. In fact, they said that the window is between October and November. So the only thing going against that is sort of known Battlefield Call of Duty leaker Tom Henderson tenders to his friend, saying that it's not actually, that's actually not what he's heard, that it's coming later, it's not necessarily for 2021. So it is kind of Kotaku versus Tom Henderson on this, but if you're going to show it off, Sony's PlayStation Place would be the way to go.
It would make sense given the partnership they already have on the expanded and enhanced edition of GTA 5, which they announced, I believe, at the showcase last year when they also showed off the PS5.
Yeah.
Was the same event when they showed off
the
PS5?
Yeah, because they were like, tune in, it's the next generation, and then we just saw GTA 5 again.
Yeah, so I think, I don't even know if we have a release date for the expanded and enhanced edition. I can't even remember, but I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Henderson on this. I just don't see it coming this imminently. I would like to think that maybe we'll get some kind of official announcement here to go along with maybe some kind of, footage and more details on what exactly enhanced and expanded means to Rockstar with GTA 5. Like, how do you make that game that has already been, repackaged and resold so many times, more compelling on the next gen and convince people that it's a worthwhile thing, and more so than doing another GTA game that's actually new, or maybe doing an update for Red Dead Online. I mean, I don't know, that game could probably do. I don't just put it out there.
They're just rerouting every single staff member at GTA Online at this point. But I mean, Strauss Zelnick from Take-Two got out there and said that, look, the way that we do remasters is they pointed to the Mafia Definitive Edition and just said it would be something like that they don't just do, base frame rate updates. They tend to be overhaul stuff. So I guess if you apply that across to GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, then maybe we're in for something that's genuinely really impressive. Maybe a new shooting model, combat model, something like that. But overall, this stuff seems to be up in the air for GTA. Now, something else that we've got down is kind of a prediction / a confirmation, something that we think is going to be there, which is just worth talking about. It's just a nice little bridge between the leaks and the prediction sections, which is Spider-Man 2, because where the hell is Spider-Man 2? It's been a good few years. We have Miles Morales, but I feel like Spider-Man 2, the next main installment, should be something that Sony should be showing off going into 2022.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And there was, I believe there was one of the animation designers at Insomniac was saying that he was already moved on to another project back in June of this year as well. And, given the way Insomniac have grown as a studio over the last couple of years, I think they've opened up several new locations. It totally wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility to think that they're actually, maybe even a little bit along in development for the next Spider-Man title. Morales was clearly made with a full sequel in mind, involving both Peter and Miles being the main playable characters. I feel as though that's the natural trajectory of the series. Obviously, we got all the plot stuff from the first one involving Harry and Norman Osborn and the symbiotes and stuff. So it's definitely a matter of when, not if. And I think if you're going to do any kind of reveal, it makes sense to do it here. If you're really going to pitch people on, the PS5 generation being here right now, because let's face it, the first year's been a bit of a nothing. Yeah. So I think if you're going to get anyone to, be like, okay, this is where the next generation starts, showing off and you're officially confirming your next awesome Spider-Man title is the way to go. Although the way this year has turned out, Scott Tailford, it would not surprise me if we got an announcement for the Spider-Man for Marvel's Avengers instead.
No, I know. Well, that's another thing, is that I keep remembering that we were getting Spider-Man in the Avengers.
A few months after launch.
It was... It was going to be one character a month and Spider-Man straight after that. And so I don't even know what state that's in. I mean, they paid the money for it, so I guess something has to happen at some point. But
Sony's like, get me pictures of Spider-Man in
as
Marvel's Avengers.
As long as they don't do tune in to catch the latest Spider-Man news at the Sony event, everyone thinks it's going to be Spider-Man 2, and then he swings into the Avengers instead. I think that would be a bad way to go. But you mentioned the art designer saying that they're moving on to another project. And he also said that the studio mantra, that's why they're called Insomniac, a bit of a joke, but just saying, we never sleep. There is that reality to the amount of projects they've turned around in the last few years, like both Ratchet and Clank games, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Spider-Man Remastered. They are insane. If you think about the first Spider-Man game was 2018, then they already had the sequel in mind. Brian Intihar was already talking about the fact that they were looking to the future and what they were going to be planning. And like you said, it ends on a cliffhanger and stuff anyway. So that stuff seems like a dead cert. Another thing I'm going to throw in, which is more banana sandwich territory, because why not, is a new first-person shooter franchise from Sony first party. And this mainly just comes from the fact that Guerrilla Games, they hired ex-Rainbow Six Siege multiplayer designers Simon LaRouche and Chris Lee. They came back across from Ubisoft to work with Guerrilla Games on an unknown multiplayer project going forward. A lot of people thought it would be SOCOM. I still kind of think that it will channel SOCOM at least, because that's such a known brand, at least on the periphery anyway. And I think the Killzone name is just poison at this point, so I think you stay away from that. You channel a bit of the military FPS, and you do the first main military-style Sony first-person shooter franchise thing, maybe ever.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
Was it Guerrilla who did SOCOM? Or there was Killzone that they just did? I can't remember who did the old SOCOM games now.
I want to say it was Tripwire, but I think I'm completely wrong.
But I totally think if you're going to bring back any franchise, and obviously with the tactical element from Siege, the multiplayer for that game pretty much single-handedly saved all of Ubisoft's Tom Clancy titles, given the run that they were in. So if they can replicate that formula into their own new IP, that'd be pretty great, because obviously, in the meantime, Siege doesn't show any signs of stopping. We've got that other generic Tom Clancy FPS coming at some point in the future, and then also the Siege Quarantine spin-off as well. So I think
I completely forgot about that.
Exactly. Everyone did. But if Sony can find a way to to make an actual polished Siege that is actually, capable of being looking like an actual next-gen game, and obviously doesn't have all the different flaws that come with, the Ubisoft Siege, the actual current build of Siege or whatever, then that'd be really cool. Take it back to its roots, make it ultra-tactical, don't bother with all the crazy gadgets or whatever. That would be an exciting thing to get invested in, because so many FPS games at the minute, they just blend into one mesh, and it's not very interesting.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously Call of Duty dominate the genre so much, and obviously Battlefield's coming back this year, but it is that thing where how do you differentiate? And I feel like if you're going to channel, or if the likes of SOCOM are on the table at all, then for me, I associate that with group tactics, a single player campaign that you can jump between different people, organize things like breaching doors, sending your dudes around the side, you go in one way, someone else the other way. Those things can be differentiable elements, especially in the modern day. I don't feel like anyone's doing that at that scale, on a AAA scale.
Unless it's looty shooty.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Unless it's some like looty shooty thing where they can push you towards a loot box on your way to the next enemy. But I had a quick Google there. It was Zipper Interactive for SOCOM.
Zipper?
So apologies to Little Zipper. But yeah, the SOCOM franchise was a good old time. But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below. What stuff are you looking forward to? What stuff do you think might be there from the leaks? And what are your overall predictions for the first PlayStation showcase? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I've been Ewan from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.